Christina Wang was arrested after police say she murdered her husband, Calvin. Calvin was an active duty sailor, and court documents say they were going through a divorce. On July 17th, officers found Calvin dead. Prosecutors claim that Christina brought a gun to meet up with Calvin, and upon arrival, the two got in some sort of argument. Christina slapped Calvin, and he told her to get out. That's when Christina allegedly shot Calvin in the stomach and then in the head before leaving his body to sit for several days.
It was a case that shocked many in the Virginia Beach community, including people in the WTKR newsroom. In July of 2023, Calvin Wang, who was 37 at the time, was found dead, shot dead in a Virginia Beach home. Now, his wife, Christina Wang, is accused in his murder, and according to court documents, she admitted to doing this. Welcome to True Crime 757. I'm John Sham, and I'm here with Margaret Kavanaugh, our investigative reporter, talking about the case of Christina Wang. Now, Margaret, what do we know about what happened on that day in July 2023?
Yeah, this case, this is just a very strange case that got a lot of attention. What we know is that Calvin Wang was 37 years old. He was found shot dead in his home at the Lake Smith condos, which is like off in Northampton in Virginia Beach, on July 17th, 2023 in Virginia Beach. Police say he died of gunshot wounds, and then detectives arrested his 30-year-old wife, Christina Wang. Now, she's been in custody in the Virginia Beach jail since all of this has happened. The couple we know had a son. That son is now living with Calvin's mother as she is raising him now. But she's been charged with second-degree murder and use of a firearm and commission of a felony. She has not been convicted. These are just allegations, and her trial is coming up in the spring. So, we have to make that clear to everybody. But we started digging into this case as soon as it happened, which is normal when we have cases like this. You go to the courthouse, you're going to search the search warrants, you're going to look at any kind of documents that you can find, because that'll provide you with some clues as to what police say in the investigation. Now, we did learn through the bail determination document what that is. If someone is going up for bail or an attempt to get out, they have to fill out this form that has all this basic information about them, their job, their length of time in the community, the family who lives here, how much money they make. And for reporters, it's a document that you can learn a lot of information about whatever the person, and sometimes there's information about past crimes if they have any, or just even some tidbits. What we learned in that document was that it stated that the couple had gotten into an argument. Christina slapped Calvin. He told her to leave. She pulled out a gun and shot him in the stomach, allegedly, and in the head. And it also claims that she admits to this, and it stated in the documents that this whole incident was caught on video. Now, we haven't seen this video, but that, of course, will be part of this whole trial coming up.
So do you think that they would show that video in the trial?
Oh, yeah, I think definitely. I don't know, but I'm sure that would be a big piece of evidence that they're going to be using.
Wow, that would be really shocking to show, and obviously very, very difficult to watch for probably a lot of people. Whose home was this that they were found? Were they living together at the time?
So I don't know exactly where she was exactly living. What I do know is that their marriage had major issues, and it wasn't something subtle. There was several incidents, there were several problems that had been documented, with issues of her making allegations and him. We do know that he was living at that condo where he was found when all of this happened. And it also stated in that document that I was just referring to that after the husband was shot in the head, it stated in court that home surveillance showed her walking around the house with her hands on her hips and standing over his body, which gets left there for several days, which was also a strange aspect of this case. The police later said that they think that he died on July 15th, which was a Saturday, but the body was not discovered until Monday, the 17th, so 2 days later.
Going back to the allegations of infidelity, one of the reasons that this story got a lot of attention, online, on social media, was because a Facebook profile that appeared to be Christina Wang's had published a comment in a group called "Are We Dating the Same Guy?" not that long before the murder, occurred. And she wrote, "This is my husband, Calvin. If you see him on this app or any of the others, please know that he is married," in all caps. "And please let me know if he matches/chats with you." And that comment, of course, got a lot of responses, a lot of engagement on that. And then, of course, a couple of weeks later, it turns out that he was found dead, and now his wife is charged. What do we know about this group and more about the allegations of infidelity in their marriage? And who is accused of infidelity against whom? Was it on both sides?
I think it was on both sides. I did an interview with his mother, who said that was going on, with her, and then she makes that post, which makes it seem like she's accusing him of that. So obviously there were some problems, and I didn't know about that website until this happened, right? And it was just, whoa, this website is exactly what you think it is. Are we dating the same guy? Women and whoever else go on there to post pictures of people and to say, there's all kinds of situations, but here's my husband, if anyone's dating him, let me know, like that post said. Or there's people that are just dating somebody and they post a picture and say, can you let me know if you have any, they say tea a lot, all the young kids.
The common term, yeah, of course, yes,
tea,
yeah, we need the tea.
On the person that they're, interested in, and then you'll get all these comments and all these, it's just, I joined it after, all this to just learn more, but it was very interesting. And this blew up, because there's websites like this across the entire country for different cities. So it just circulated so many places. Like the wife that posted this then got arrested for killing him, which is extremely upsetting and sad, but it was very shocking because you could just see it online like that.
Yeah. And I remember a lot of people in our community were seeing this post online and were making the connection. And of course, we can't independently verify that this was definitely her Facebook profile. However, when I followed this link to her Facebook profile, I found pictures of Calvin on her page. And so it did appear to be, her actual profile talking about this. So you mentioned before how he was believed to have been murdered on the 15th of July, but they didn't find him until the 17th. Now, how did they find him?
So in a search warrant, it stated that Calvin was found, one of his co-workers was trying to find him and later came in contact with Christina Wang, who told him that she had shot her husband. She confessed to the shooting to him twice on July 15th, 2 days before the body was discovered. That's when, the ball, I believe, got rolling and police got notified. And then, that's when they found him, and that's when they started this whole investigation that shocked really much the Virginia Beach community,
And he was a member of the Navy too. So, and the Navy did acknowledge, that he had been murdered and he was a member of the Navy. What did the Navy say when we reached out to them about this?
Yeah, they issued us a statement. They said that he worked as a chief air controlman. He's active duty service and was assigned to the Surface Combat Systems Training Command Detachment, Middle Atlantic. And they said, in the release that he was found deceased. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family, friends, and coworkers at this time. The loss is felt personally by the people who served with him and by the Navy as a whole. Each sailor is an invaluable part of the team, and he is sorely missed. They were providing grief counselors and, giving that kind of statement. His mother told me that he absolutely loved working in the military and that he did some IT work, technology in that kind of field, and that he was just absolutely really loved working for the Navy.
Now, the accusations of infidelity did not just play out in Facebook groups, they also played out in court, and we will get back to that more after this break.
Your world changed in seconds, not by choice. But now, you get to choose who fights for you. At Corsland Law, we don't just handle cases like the other firms. We go to war to get our clients paid for their injuries. Personal injury, real people, real stakes. Let us carry the weight. Free consultation, fierce representation. Corsland Law. Because this fight is personal.
I could tell she was very troubled.
A friend of Christina's who wanted to remain anonymous said she's known her for about 5 years.
When she'll go through something, it's always issues with her husband to the point where she's like considering looking for another partner and trying to like get away from this relationship. But she's also, when I ask about divorcing, she's also anxious about being a single mom.
Documents from Virginia Beach Circuit Court show the couple, who has been married since 2016 and have a son together, filed for divorce last year. A complaint filed by Calvin Wang's attorney in relation to the pending divorce claims that last April his wife committed adultery and that Calvin confronted her about it.
I was like, please don't plan on cheating on him. At least, like, I know it's like really hard to get out of a relationship like this.
Welcome back to True Crime 757. We're talking about the case of Christina Wang, who was accused of killing her husband, Calvin Wang, in July 2023. Now, we know that there were allegations of infidelity that happened in that relationship. They did not just play out in the Facebook groups, though. They also played out in court. What do we know about their divorce proceedings?
We know that there was pending divorce claims that were filed. We know in the complaint that we found, Calvin Wang's attorney had made claims that Christina had committed adultery. And then, we saw that post that came out with her making that accusation. So, being married is difficult. You're married, I'm married, it's really tough. And I feel for people that are in that type of situation where it's like it seems like they were in a toxic situation where they weren't getting along and there were issues. So I do feel for anybody that's going through that, because that's very difficult. But we also got contacted at one point by one of Christina's friends. She contacted the newsroom. She did not want to, she wanted to speak anonymously. That was what she agreed to. But she said to us that the couple did in fact have marital problems, which, surprise, surprise, that's not really that shocking. But she said, and she was quoted in one of our stories as saying, when she was talking about the marital problems, to the point where she was considering looking for another partner and trying to get away from the relationship. And this anonymous friend said that she asked her about divorce, like, well, are you going to divorce him? And she alleges that Christine was very anxious about being a single mom when she asked her about that. So that was another person that was claiming to have some inside information into this tragic situation.
Now, there were several hearings that took place over the couple of months after the accusations, after Calvin was found dead. What else did we learn during those hearings?
Well, we heard the prosecutors in this case say that Christina brought the gun into the home where the incident happened and said that this whole thing was calculated and cruel. That is what the prosecution said in one of these court hearings. Now, we know that her defense attorney has said that she has a history of anxiety and depression. In another incident, he said this was a terrible situation all around, which, obviously this is a terrible situation. The couple had that adorable, we didn't put his picture, the child's picture, but this little kid is so adorable. We got the pictures from the grandmother and blurred out his face, but I saw what he looked like, and he's just so cute. And that's the real victim in a lot. I mean, obviously, Calvin lost his life, his family, that little boy having to grow up with both parents now, not in his life the way they were. That's the real, sadness about this whole thing.
The search warrant also states that Christina Wang allegedly texted her 6-year-old son and asked him for forgiveness. Court records also indicate Calvin Wang's death was caught on video.
And so so you said the little boy, he's living with the grandparents now?
Yes, they live in another part of Virginia. And so, I interviewed Calvin's mom. She didn't want her face shown and we didn't show her identity, but she gave a lot of, information and it, it was just heartbreaking. Any parent that has to bury their child is just horrible, especially in such a way, that was so violent. And she is obviously very heartbroken by the whole thing.
And when you spoke with her, she touched on some of the issues in their marriage. And I think we want to get a little bit more into that, and we'll play some sound from that interview, and we'll do that when we come back from this break.
Your world changed in seconds, not by choice. But now you get to choose who fights for you. At Corseland Law, we don't just handle cases like the other firms. We go to war to get our clients paid for their injuries. Personal injury, real people, real stakes. Let us carry the weight. Free consultation, fierce representation. Corseland Law, because this fight is personal.
When you realize something wrong happened to you, you have to be brave. You have to tell yourself, break the comfort zone. You have to stop and you have to leave. If you don't stop, don't leave, things will not change because the other person will never change.
Welcome back to True Crime 757. Margot, you spoke to Calvin Wang's mother, who I believe did not want to be identified. She didn't want to show her face for this interview. It was about 2 years after her son was found dead. Why did she want to do this interview, and why at this time?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of cases where there's one spouse that shoots and kills or is accused of shooting and killing the other is usually, in many cases, the wife that is the one that is killed. In this case, the accusation is the opposite. So it's kind of unusual in that way that a woman is accused of killing her husband. It's not like it never happens. I mean, it definitely happens, but it's just more unusual. And Calvin's mom really wanted to share more about her son, and talk about him. I think 2 years, she's still very much mourning, but she did want to give her opinion, about domestic violence. She really wanted to issue a warning to people that she was saying to me, if your spouse is saying that they're going to kill you, take that very seriously.
My son's tragedy, everybody knows. And actually there was signs, even start from, he was killed in 2023. In 2022, I started taking care of. Then told me many times, he say, mama say she wants Dada die. And because kids heard about this, kids was terrified. So he told me multiple times. Then I told my son, and my son said, he already told me 1,000,000 times. So the kids was terrified. And me and my son, we didn't take it seriously. We thought she was, some kind of mad words or angry words. So this is why I really want to remind everybody, it doesn't matter, men or women, you have to be very cautious. For example, if your spouse or partner, has some kind of unusual behavior, for example, very habitually doubt you, question about where you are, keep track of your whereabouts, this is a sign. You have to know something wrong.
So often in the domestic violence cases, people say that there were red flags before, that there was talk about threats. We know that I've done stories that say if your loved one or your partner is strangling you, like putting their hands on your throat, that's your chances of dying go up astronomically. So she wanted to really talk about the domestic violence aspect of what happened that day and just a warning for other people. This is the first time that she had spoke publicly about what happened. She said, really, from her perspective, she's very angry, obviously, about all this. And it's she's older. She's raising now her son's son. So, being a grandparent, taking on that responsibility, it's a lot. But she's happy to do it. She said, it's a lot. You're older in life.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's not something that you're expecting to do when you're, kind of in your golden years. And,
right.
And, looking forward to being a grandparent, to just have to take over as the primary caretaker for a young child.
I really pray and hope this tragedy don't affect to his life, because life is long, Right now, he probably didn't think about much, but when he turned to be teenager or grown man, he might think different ways. I always say, this is nothing to do with you, because both of your parents, they all love you. I want
Yeah.
him to be healthy mind. He has a healthy mind, and he grew up physically healthy, mentally healthy.
In these tragic cases, we're talking about crime and murder. Sometimes the person, the victim, sometimes some of that gets lost. And I think, from my perspective, if this had happened to a member of my family, I would want to make sure that not just the story of their death got told, but the story of their life, right? And let's play a little bit of sound from that interview with the mom.
He was a very honest, decent person, diligent, never had any never have done any wrong thing, and they just work hard for family, for the wife, and he paid off her student loan. He didn't have to, but he paid off her student loan. He bought a new car for her to drive, and he drove a 15 years old car. Such kind of husband, take care of family, take care of the kid. Every night, Calvin was the person, give the kid a bath, read story to him, and take him to sleep with him. That's why the kid, my grandson, so close to the father, because the father spent the time.
So that's just a little bit of what she had to say. What else did she tell you about Calvin?
She said he, there were issues in the marriage, but his biggest priority, he didn't, the son, and how that was going to impact him, breaking up the marriage, breaking up the relationship. That was like one of his major, and I'm sure any parent that has to go through something, a divorce, that's what the main concern is with a lot of people.
He didn't say anything until she filed false report to the policeman. My son decided to move out, and then he decided to divorce. He didn't propose divorce before, was because of the son, because he was afraid of losing the custody. He had so much concern about the custody. So he didn't say anything. He was very sad, couldn't sleep.
Did you ask her about Christina, or did she say anything about Christina? Did that come up in your conversation? What was what was her feelings, if it did?
She does not like Christina. She didn't like her from before. She felt like, there were like a lack of accountability. According to the mother felt like her son was doing so much, and she was, unhappy and complaining, going out, so those were the allegations that she made. Now, I haven't talked to Christina. We've tried to reach out to her ourselves to do an interview with her to get her take, but those requests have not been granted.
We know that Christina will still have her day in court. That case is scheduled for May of 2026. We know that we will be covering it here. Is there anything else that we know about what's going to, come out in this case?
So that's, we're anticipating what she's saying as to why this took place. It sounds like from the court records that she admitted to it, but there's a lot about why it would take such an extreme. So I'm sure her defense is working on how that's going to be presented to the jury and what they're going to say.
So we know that we're going to be covering this case when it goes to trial next year.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we'll be in court to follow every step, and we hope you'll join us for it. And thank you for joining us for another episode of True Crime 757. I'm John Sham, Margaret Kavanaugh. We'll see you next time.